Our next speaker will be Dr. Kamalpreet Likhari. Um, uh, she went through her wonderful 15-year stint as postgraduate fellow, and then she is a consultant at Arvind Eye Hospital, Madurai, and is presently the head of Orbit and Oculoplasty Department. I would like to welcome Dr. Kamalpreet Likhari, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. At the outset, I'd like to thank the organizers for this opportunity.
Dr. Kamalpreet is the head of the RJN Apollo Spectra Eye Institute in Gwalior.
Yeah, I'm in Gwalior. Okay, is my slides visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the silicon sling simplified. Now, we all know that the beauty of frontalis sling surgery for ptosis using silicon lies in its simplicity. However, we realize the importance of understanding the intricacies of this procedure when we see its complications, like in this young lady who had congenital synkinetic ptosis and had been operated more than 3 times before she presented to us. So she had this obvious contour abnormality, and you can see in the subbrow area, there is a punched up hypertrophied tissue. So she had undergone a silicone sling followed by a sling tightening, then sling removal, and then a fascia lata sling. This girl also had a congenital synkinetic ptosis, and she had undergone a silicone sling procedure. She had a medial droop and an undercorrection. So now to understand the procedure, we are trying to engage the frontalis muscle to lift up the ptotic eyelid. And the most commonly followed route is the Fox pentagon. The markings are shown. And the most important markings are those on the eyelid, which should correspond to the medial and the lateral canthus with the eye in primary position. We are using the Oro sling, which consists of a thread-like silicone rod swaged onto long needles. Here is a brief video. Now, bending the needle makes its passage easier and also safer. So I have already made the stab incisions in this case. And before starting the procedure, it is nice if we do a blepharoplasty incision and also make a tunnel under the brow incision beneath the frontalis. Now, blepharoplasty really helps in giving good cosmesis and also prevents lash ptosis, also makes the passage of the needle easier. I like to start on the medial side, on the nasal side, because sometimes when you are coming from the lid to the brow on the nasal side, the frontal prominence can present an obstruction. Now here, the plane of the needle is in the plane of the levator. We should make sure that we are not engaging the arcus marginalis or the orbital septum. Also, when we are passing the needle in the eyelid, we should make sure that the tarsus is not engaged. In fact, we always evert the eyelid to make sure that the tarsus has not been penetrated before we complete the pass of the needle. Another point is that when we do a blepharoplasty in a unilateral sling case, it is always a skin muscle excision. We never excise fat because we want to preserve the symmetry. Now this needle emerges about 4 to 5 millimeters away from the other silicone thread and has to be very carefully threaded through the sleeve, taking care not to damage the sleeve because otherwise we have to discard the sling. The blepharoplasty is closed with the crease forming sutures and skin closing sutures. The sling is tensed and the patient is made to sit up to assess the result. A lot of people like to tie a suture around the sleeve to secure it. I prefer these knots, I find them simpler. So I just tie knots on both the rods of the sling, cut it to a suitable length and bury it in the pocket which we had dissected earlier. Now, a very important pointer here is that no part of the sling should lie outside this pocket because that can lead to infection and granuloma formation. Therefore, it's better to close this in layers. Following these steps can ensure very predictable and symmetrical results. not just in simple cases like this, but also in complex ones. So for this young lady, I removed the fascia lata sling and I debulked the subbrow tissue and passed a silicone sling. This is at 2 weeks post-operative. In this girl, we found that she had a marked esotropia in the right eye, which had been missed earlier. So we made her aware of that and kind of counseled her to accept a bit of a contour abnormality and then proceeded to correct it. Now coming to pearls, the most important is crease and contour. If you have a symmetrical crease and contour, you can get away with a bit of asymmetry in lid height, that is overcorrection or undercorrection. Always do a cover, uncover, and an alternate cover test to rule out squint, and look for frontalis overaction, which is most important in unilateral cases than in bilateral ones.
1 minute.
Having a printout in OT really helps you to assess the other eye lid height and contour, which may not be very possible otherwise. Assess the patient in a sitting position before closing the case, unless of course you're operating under GA, and counsel thoroughly. So photographs holding up the ptotic eyelids can help the patient to understand your planned final result, along with lag of thalamus and lid lag and down gaze. This not only helps the patient have realistic expectations from the surgery, but also gives mental peace both to the patient and the surgeon. Thank you.
Wonderful, doctor. It was a very nice presentation, Kamalpreet. I suppose these patients you all would have counseled a lot so that, you know, their expectations would be quite escalated. So if you've had a overcorrection or undercorrection, would you leave it for time to take care, or there are certain clear-cut indications when you should intervene?
Ma'am, definitely for an undercorrection, unless it's really gross, I would wait for the 2-week period to wear off when the edema clears slightly. If it is a gross overcorrection, you can even do it after 5 days, because that looks very unacceptable.
Anybody, Dr. Usha, you have anything to add?
Chitra ma'am, your video is off.
Yeah, so that was a very good presentation, Kamalpreet, and I think anybody would accept an undercorrection, but an overcorrection would be a big no-no.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just a small comment, Dr. Kamalpreet, very nice video and presentation. The fact that you emphasized, showing how the patient is going to look when he looks down or sleeps. That is lid lag and lag of thalamus. If you demonstrate to especially the child's parents, then that's a very, very nice point that you added.
Thank you very much, doctor.